Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 29, text 28 and onwards. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jiva Shrestha Hi Ajivanam Tata Prana Vrita Shubhe Tata Sa Chitaha Pravaras Tata Chandriya Vritthaya Jiva Shrestha Hi Ajivanam Tata Prana Prita Shubhe Tata Sachita Pravaras Tata Chandriya Vritthaya Jiva Shrestha Hi Ajivanam Tata Prana Prita Shubhe Tata Sachita Pravaras Tatas Chandriya Vrittaya. Living entities. Shrestha, better. He, indeed. Ajivanam, than inanimate objects. Tata, than them. Pranavrita, entities with life symptoms. Shubhe, O Blessed Mother. Tata, than them. Satchitaha, entities with developed consciousness. Pravaraha, better. Tata, than them. Cha, and. Indriya Vrittaya, those with sense perception. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Living entities are superior to inanimate objects, O Blessed Mother, and among them living entities who display life symptoms are better. Animals with developed consciousness are better than them, and better still are those who have developed sense perception. Purport. In the previous verse, it was explained that living entities should be honored by charitable gifts and friendly behavior. And in this verse and in the following verses, the description of different grades of living entities is given so that one can know when to behave friendly and when to give charity. For example, a tiger is a living entity, part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Supreme Lord is living in the heart of a tiger as Supersoul. But does that mean that we have to treat the tiger in a friendly manner? Certainly not. We have to treat him differently, giving him charity in the form of prasad. The many saintly persons in the jungles do not treat the tigers in a friendly way, but they supply prasad foodstuffs to them. The tigers come, take the food, and go away, just as dogs do. According to the Vedic system, a dog is not allowed to enter the house. Because of their uncleanliness, cats and dogs are not allowed to within the apartment of a gentleman, but are so trained that they stand outside and bark. In Fiji, that's all they do. Stand outside and bark. The compassionate householder will supply prasad to the dogs and cats who eat outside and then go away. We must treat the lower living entities compassionately, but this does not mean that we have to treat them in the same way we treat other human beings. The feeling of equality must be there, but the treatment should be discriminating. Just how discrimination should be maintained is given in the following 6 verses concerning the different grades of living conditions. The first division is made, so first of all, then we'll read more. First of all, here we have the system of anthropology. Anthropology means we study how different living beings are evolved. The most famous anthropologist in Western science is Charles Darwin. Everyone must have heard of Darwin's theory of evolution. Anybody here who has heard that, raise your hand. Good. So, you know what the theory of Charles Darwin is. That his idea is that originally there were no human beings, no animals, no advanced life, simply some small one-celled creatures. And gradually these one-celled creatures evolved until they became more and more developed, one species giving rise to another species, to a higher species, called survival of the fittest, and there was crossbreeding and new species evolved until finally we have the human beings, which are the highest developed species of all. This is Charles Darwin's idea. So, in the next few verses of the Bhagavatam, you will see that 5,000 years ago, in writing, the Srimad Bhagavatam already describes fully all of the different types of species and categorizes them. And this is the teaching of Kapila Dev, which means that this teaching is not just 5,000 years old. It was written down 5,000 years ago, but actually this teaching is millions of years old. So this idea that Charles Darwin came up with some new theory is complete nonsense. Because actually this theory, not the way Darwin taught it, but as you will see, the real proper understanding, is millions of years old, since the Vedic times. So actually, the scientists cannot find out anything new. Whatever there is to be known is already in the Vedas. They simply have to go there and search it out, and they will get all information required. So, better than Darwin's theory, because Darwin's theory is not perfect. It has one major fault or mistake, that Charles Darwin did not understand the existence of the spirit soul. He does not understand the difference between what is life and what is matter. Because matter does not evolve. There's no example of some chemicals mixing together and creating life. Scientists have never been able to create life in a test tube. When they say test tube baby, they had to get the sperm from a man, they had to get the egg from a woman, then they may mix the two together in a test tube. But they have not produced the sperm, they could not create the egg. These were created by man and woman. That is to say, they could not make them simply from raw chemicals. So we do not think that they will ever be able to create life from dead chemicals. That will never be possible. It will never be possible. They'll always say, in the future we shall do. In the future we are going to do. But they have not done it now, and they will never do it. Because life doesn't come from matter. Life comes from life. A living being produces another living being. And the original living being is Krishna. So everything is coming from Krishna. So Prabhupada uses the example that, first of all, they will never be able to create life. But even if they do, so what? Even if they can make, finally, after spending billions and trillions of dollars if they can make a blade of grass grow in the laboratory by mixing chemicals, just look outside at how many blades of grass there already are. What is the big credit if they can make, spending trillions of dollars, one blade of grass, when all over Fiji, all over the world, billions and zillions of blades of grass are growing without anyone's spending millions of dollars. But as soon as someone makes a blade of grass grow in a chemical laboratory, they will give him an award, Nobel Prize. But for the person who made all the blades of grass grow without any difficulty at all, Krishna, no mention. Prabhupada said it is like there are so many dogs barking, but if somebody can imitate a dog barking, people will go and pay $5 to hear him. Dogs are barking everywhere and nobody cares, but if a man can imitate a dog barking, then they will pay $5. So this is nonsense that is going on, you see. This Darwin, he has not said anything new, as you will see from these verses. And even what he said was not correct. But still, so many people think that he is a very great person. So many people think like that. We know that actually it is not a fact that from the less advanced comes the more advanced. Rather, it is the other way. From the most advanced comes the less advanced. The most advanced person in this universe is Lord Brahma. And from Brahma is evolving all the other different great saintly persons, and then the Prajapatis, and eventually the different species are created. But Brahma is the most intelligent. And beyond Brahma is Vishnu, who is born, Brahma is born from the navel of Vishnu. And the original person of all, of course, is Krishna. So, in terms of how to deal with others, the Bhagavatam tells us, now we are hearing Prabhupada says, that you have to see all life. You have to see Brahman everywhere. Just like it is mentioned that Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmana Gavani Hastani Sunicha Eva Sapakicha Pandita Samadarshana. A Pandit sees with equal vision all living entities. Later on, it says that a wise man, a learned man, sees the pebbles, stones, or gold equally. In other words, we have to understand that everything is the energy of God. Brahman. Brahman is spread out everywhere. There's nothing but Sarvam Kalvidam Brahman. Everything is Brahman. Everything everywhere is Brahman. Everything is made of God's energy. But still, we have to know how to distinguish one form of energy of God from another form. Not that we say there is no distinction. Just like when Lord Chaitanya was a small child, he was sitting and eating some dirt. So his mother chastised him, why are you doing this? So he was preaching, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahman. Everything is Brahman. Everything, whether I eat dirt or whether I eat food, food is simply the same dirt which is growing in another way. So his mother said, that is not our philosophy. You don't eat dirt. Because although everything is Brahman, there's also differences. Brahman becomes differentiated. Something is dirt, something is food. One thing you make a clay jug from, the other thing you can eat when it becomes a vegetable or grains of rice, then you can eat those things. So our philosophy is one and different. Yes, everything is one, but everything is also different. So an intelligent person knows the oneness in everything as well as the difference. Just like Prabhupada mentions here, we should treat all living entities equally. But does that mean that if a tiger comes here, that you put your arm around him? Does it mean that if a dog wants to come inside your house, you allow him? No. Because you have to know how to judge different living entities. You cannot judge all equally. Just like a little child, you don't treat a little child like an adult. Because a little child does not know how to behave. What to speak of an animal? So each living entity has to be treated according to its level of advancement. And how to judge who is more advanced, who is less advanced, here now the Bhagavatam will explain. The first division is made between dead, stone-like matter and the living organism. The first distinction is something dead and something which is living organism. Dead means just like this. This is dead. It has no life within it. A living organism is something manifested even in stone. Is sometimes manifested even in stone. Experience shows that some hills and mountains grow. This is due to the presence of the soul within that stone. In other words, there are some stones, just like crystals, which are growing. So when something is showing growth, that means there must be a soul. Try not to sleep. If one gets tired, they should stand up, but don't fall asleep. What is the use of sleeping? Sleep, we have plenty of time at night. So, if we see, just like this table, it does not grow. It does not change. Therefore, there cannot be a soul within it. But if we see that there's a hill, a mountain, a stone, what to speak of other life forms like a tree, then we know there must be a soul within it. Above that, the next manifestation, so it says here that those things which are alive are better than those things which are just dead matter. Above that, the next manifestation of the living condition is development of consciousness. In other words, a stone or mountain has practically no developed consciousness. So when we can see that some living beings have more consciousness than others, they are more advanced. The next manifestation is the development of sense perception. Sense perception means there are different senses, right? The eyes, the nose, the tongue, the ears, the sense of touch. So those living beings whose senses are active, they are more advanced still. In the Yugadharma section of the Mahabharata, it is stated that trees have developed sense perception. They can see and smell. We know by experience that trees can see. Sometimes in its growth, a large tree changes its course of development to avoid some hindrances. This means that a tree can see. And according to Mahabharata, a tree can also smell. This indicates the development of sense perception. So it is very unjust when trees are cut down. We see that people, when they build a building, they'll immediately cut down a tree. But generally in the Vedic culture, they will not do this. We have seen in India sometimes when they are building a house and there's a tree there, they build a wall around the tree. They will not cut down the tree. What to speak of cutting down millions of trees to build so many houses, print so many books and newspapers, none of which has any benefit for anyone. So this is all terrible slaughter going on. If people wonder why we are suffering in this world, we are suffering because of massive sinful activity, which is creating international karma. Just like they'll grow thousands and thousands of trees in Fiji, and then cut them all down, and then export the wood so they can earn foreign revenue, but actually they have no right to cut these trees. Because the trees have their own right to live. No man has given or created life, so man cannot take their life. The spirit soul in the body of a tree has the right to live its full duration of life. Then in the next birth, that soul will go to another higher species of life. This is the evolution. Darwin said that the body is evolving. And why don't you let him go out? You can't control him. Just let him go, or you go with him. Darwin said that the body is evolving, but we know the body is not evolving. It is the spirit soul that is evolving. It is consciousness which evolves. As the soul leaves the body, it goes into the next higher form. And then again it goes into another higher form. and then again into another higher form. So it is the consciousness. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajati andi kalevaram tam tam evaiti konteya sadatad bhava bhavita. Whatever the consciousness is coming to at the end of life, it will go into that body in its next birth. Until finally it comes to a human body. Now in the human form of life, it will not automatically go to another higher one. When you have a human body, you become responsible for whatever you do. The animals are not responsible. If a tiger eats a man, there's no sin. A tiger cannot be punished. Of course, sometimes they kill the tiger. But from the point of law of karma, the tiger is not in any way guilty of some offense if he eats a man. But if you kill a man, then according to Manu Samhita, you have to also be killed. So human life is a life of responsibility. Therefore, whatever you do is going to determine your next birth. It may be a higher birth, it may be a lower birth. Or, if you become Krishna conscious, then no more birth. No more material birth. Then you can go back to Krishna and get a spiritual body for no more birth at all. So it is all according to what you do. So, trees have their right to live. Now, Prabhupada explains Kapila Dev explains in the next verse. Among the living entities who have developed sense perception, tatrapi sparsha vedibhya parvara rasa vedina tebhyo gandha vidas shrastas tatas sabha vido vara. Among the living entities who have developed sense perception, those who have developed the sense of taste are better than those who have developed only the sense of touch. Those who have taste are better than those who have touch. Better than them, so better than those who can see, the trees can see, but better than that is those who have taste, touch. Though better than those who have touch are those who have taste. Better than them are those who have developed a sense of smell, and better still are those who have developed a sense of hearing. Prabhupada says, it is said here that amongst the trees there are also evolutionary processes. The different kinds of trees have touch perception. It is said that better than the trees are fish, because fish have developed a sense of taste. Right? The fish has a sense of taste. Better than the fish are bees. What can a bee do? Smell. Yes. Bees, because they have developed a sense of smell. And better than them are the snakes or serpents, because what? What can a serpent do? They can hear. What does a serpent hear? The toad or frog. By here it says, they have a sense of hearing. In the darkness of night, a snake can find its eatable, simply by hearing the frog's very pleasant cry. The snake can understand, there is the frog. And he captures the frog simply because of its sound vibration. This example is sometimes given for persons who vibrate sounds simply for death. One may have a very nice tongue that can vibrate sounds like the frogs. But that kind of vibration is simply calling death. The best use of the tongue and of sound vibration is to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. That will protect one from the hands of cruel death. So now you can see how the Bhagavatam is giving us step by step different types of advancement. You can see how each type. So it says here, first it mentions that the difference between inanimate dead matter and those things which are alive. Then amongst those things which are alive, those things which have consciousness. Then amongst those things which have consciousness, those things which have sense perception. Then amongst those things which have sense perception, now the details are given. First of all, we heard about the trees, which have a sense of what? Sight. Then, better than the trees are what? What comes next? Huh? Do you remember? What was it after that? Fish. Why? They can see. Taste. Right. Sorry. They can taste. Then, what is better than that? The bees, because they can do what? Smell. So first comes the tree, then comes the what? Fish. Then after the fish, bees. Then what's next? Snake, because of what? The snake can hear. Okay? Then, so now, trees, then fish, bees, snakes. What's next? So far, that is as far as we have come. Rupa Veda Vidas Tatra Tatas Chobayato Dada Tesham Bahu Padashrastas Chatus Padas Tato Dvipat. Better than those living entities who can perceive sound are those who can distinguish between one form and another form. Better than them are those who have developed upper and lower sets of teeth. And better still are those who have many legs. Better than them are the quadrupeds, and better still are the human beings. Now Prabhupada will explain this. I skipped a bit. Okay. It is said that certain birds, such as crows, can distinguish one form from another form. Just like we have seen, a crow has the intelligence to be able to distinguish one form from another. Right? A crow knows what things he likes to eat, what things he doesn't like to eat. So crows have this ability which is mentioned here. Those living entities who can perceive sound are... better than those who can perceive sound, which is the snakes, are those that can distinguish one form from another, like a crow. Better than those who have developed upper and lower sets of teeth. Right? There are so many living beings with different sets of teeth. What kind of teeth does a crow have? He doesn't. He just has a beak. So then it comes animals. When we say upper and lower sets of teeth, birds don't have upper and lower sets of teeth. Right? What about sharks? Yeah, they have upper and lower sets of teeth. So they're considered better. Huh? That's what it says here. But can they do all these other things? Can a shark hear? Yeah, they have the ability to hear. Huh? They can or cannot? Can they do everything else here that these other living entities can do? Well, let's see what our line is now. Trees. We want to see if whales and sharks have many fish have upper and lower teeth. So, a tree, he can simply do what? See. So fish can do that. Then what is next? Fish. They can... So can a shark smell? Yeah, they can smell blood. Isn't it? Definitely they can smell blood. That's how they know that there's blood. Somebody in the ocean is there. They all come there. So they can smell. Then what's next? Snakes can hear. The sharks can hear. So then next thing comes distinguishing different forms. They can do that. So you can see there are certain types of fish, in other words, are more evolved. What to speak of animals, they're also more evolved. Upper and lower sets of teeth. And better still are those who have many legs. Then we have seen so many different insects and things with many, many legs. So they're said to be considered more advanced. Insects with many legs are more advanced than all the others so far. Then better than them are four-legged creatures. Any creature with four legs is still better. And better still are the two-legged creatures. Which creatures have two legs? Human beings. Tato varnas chatvaras tesem brahmana uttamam brahmeshvapi vedagno hi artagno vyadikas chatata. Among human beings, the society which is divided into quality and work is best. And in that society, the intelligent men who are designated as Brahmins are best. So amongst the human society, the society which has this Varna Ashram, Dharma, different divisions, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, like this, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. That society which can distinguish all of these is the best of human society. And in that society, the intelligent men, the Brahmins, they are best. Among the Brahmins, one who has studied the Vedas is best. And among the Brahmins who have studied the Vedas, one who knows the actual purport of the Veda is best. Prabhupada says that the systems of the classification of society is very old. It is nothing new. It has been mentioned here in the Bhagavatam and the Gita. Unless there is such a division of the social orders in human society, including the intelligent class, etc., there is always confusion as to who is to work for what purpose. This is a good point. Without this division of Varnashram, we see that society has no way to function properly. Unless we know who is an intelligent man, who is a mercantile person, who is administratively inclined, who should simply do labor, there's no way to divide society. And the result is chaos. Nowadays we can see the result, that the leaders of the world are not always qualified. Very often we see people are leaders, but they lack proper qualification. And naturally all of those who follow have to suffer. So that's the situation in the world today. The leaders are not qualified. Generally speaking, they're not qualified. The topmost person is the Brahmin, just like our body has a head. And it is the duty of the head to direct the other parts of the body. So similarly, those who are Brahmins should actually direct the rest of society. Unfortunately, just like in Fiji, we see that in the Indian community they have these Brahmins, they have Pandits, but they're not qualified. Simply because their father was a Brahmin, or they have the name Maharaj or something, then they think that automatically qualifies them to be a Pandit or Brahmin. But it is not so. Qualification is not by birth. Qualification is by one's actual nature and one's work which one does. So the system of Varna and Ashram, which is present today a little bit, it is all corrupt. It is not the pure form of Varna Ashram which is actually described in the Bhagavatam and Gita. Unless Varna Ashram is established, there will be no proper functioning of society. Devi Varna Ashram means, as it's mentioned in the Gita, that all of the classes of the Varnas and all the ashramas are meant for pleasing Krishna. And that is called Devi Varnashram. The people should be divided up in their work, their service, according to their propensity. And everyone should cooperate together for giving pleasure to Krishna. This is called Devi Varnashram. So that has to be established. Just like we are doing in ISKCON, different devotees are doing different services according to their capability. We don't care what your birth is. It is simply a question of what your ability, your quality is. Then you're given a particular type of work to do. And everybody is given equal respect because everyone is Vaishnava. Everyone is servant of Krishna, therefore we respect everyone. But this is a very nice arrangement. And this will mean that we can live peacefully together and be very successful. A person trained in the stage of understanding the absolute truth is a Brahmin. This is what a Brahmin is. Someone who is trained to understand the absolute truth. That means a Brahmin must have thorough understanding of scripture and he can apply it properly. And when such a Brahmin is a Vedagna, a Vedagya means he understands the purpose of the Veda. The purpose of Veda is to understand the absolute. One who understands the absolute truth in three phases, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, and who understands the term Bhagavan to mean the Supreme Personality of Godhead is considered to be the best of the Brahmins, or a Vaishnava. Artagnat samsaya cheta tata shreyan svakarma krit mukta sangas tato bhuyan adhogda dharman atmana. Better than the Brahmin who knows the purpose of the Vedas is he who can dissipate all doubts. Someone is the best Brahmin. Not only does he know the conclusion of the Vedas, but he can, by his talking and preaching, he can eliminate or satisfy anyone's doubts. Better than him is one who strictly follows the Brahminical principles. Maybe someone is expert at talking, but he's not as good as someone who is expert at following. To follow is more important even than to be able to talk nicely. Therefore we say to anyone who joins us, immediately they have to follow our 4 principles. So they're immediately raised to a very high standard. Better than him is one who is liberated from all material contamination. And better than him is a pure devotee who executes devotional service without expectation of reward. Prabhupada says, one must be able to clear all doubts and simultaneously be situated in the Brahminical characteristics. Such a person who knows the purpose of the Vedic injunctions, who can employ the principles laid down in the Vedic literatures, and who teaches his disciples in that way is called an acharya. The position of an acharya is that he executes devotional service with no desire for elevation to a higher position of life. The highest perfectional Brahmin is the Vaishnava. A Vaishnava who knows the science of the Absolute Truth, but is not able to preach such knowledge to others, is described as being in the lower stage. One who not only understands the principle of the science of God, but can also preach it is in the second stage. And one who not only can preach, but who also sees everything in the Absolute Truth, and the Absolute Truth in everything, is in the highest class of Vaishnava. That means here we talk Kanista, Madhyam, and Uttam, Vaishnava. It is mentioned here that a Vaishnava is already a Brahmin. In fact, the highest stage of Brahminical perfection is reached when one becomes a Vaishnava. So, you can see why it is said that if someone studies Srimad Bhagavatam, they'll get a perfect education. There's no need of going to any material school. If you just read the Srimad Bhagavatam, you become more learned than the teachers in the school. You can teach them. Because here we see all knowledge. Just in these few verses, you can see so much knowledge is given about nature study, anthropology. You can, just from reading this, you can give better knowledge than you can get in school. And also from these points we can see how we have finally come to be a human being. How fortunate, how much time it has taken us, the soul, to finally take birth in a human body. We have gone through all the different species, and in each species there are many varieties. 8,400,000 different ones. And you have been through all of them. Now finally you have got a human form. You can see that it's very advanced to become a human being, higher than all the other creatures. Now what are you going to do as a human being? Are you going to become the best of human beings, or are you going to take the chance to again fall down into the lower species? No, of course. We should try to become the best human being. Not only one who knows the Vedas, not only one who can teach the Vedas, not only one who can follow the teachings of the Vedas, but one who actually knows the Absolute Truth, Krishna. One who becomes the lover of Krishna is the best of all living beings. That represents the final goal of this evolution of consciousness. And after this, one who gets to that point, he goes back to home, back to Godhead. So now we can understand that how we should deal with ourselves and how we should deal with others. For ourselves, we should try to elevate ourselves to the highest position of a pure Vaishnava. And what should we do for others? We should be kind and help them to advance. For those who are less intelligent, like the snakes or the tigers or the dogs, we give them Krishna Prasadam. And for those who can understand philosophy, then we can also give them this transcendental books, this knowledge. We can teach them how to become devotees. So this is really the two things that we have to do with our life. We must advance ourselves personally, and we must give Krishna's mercy to all other living creatures according to their ability to receive it. So we'll stop here and ask if anyone has any questions. Question? Yes.
When the Jivatma is in, has the symptoms of life like growth and all that, whereas the Paramatma that's in the atom doesn't exhibit those symptoms.
Paramatma exhibits those symptoms, but the Paramatma doesn't. In the atom, what is your question exactly?
Let's say, for example, you have a table. It doesn't have symptoms of growth and all that, right? But the table's made out of atoms and molecules. That's the Paramatma.
Yeah. But the Paramatma doesn't interfere in any way. The Paramatma reciprocates with the spirit soul. And even atoms, even though there's no consciousness, yet the atoms congeal together. Prabhupada says that the atoms have an attractive force which attracts them to each other because of Krishna being within the atom. And Krishna is all attractive. So even though the atoms may not exhibit the type of consciousness that the Jivatma does, still there is some force which is holding them together. That force is the Paramatma.
It just seems to indicate that the force of the Jivatma is superior.
No, it doesn't indicate that. It just indicates that the Paramatma has no reason to manifest any particular or exhibit any type of consciousness in the way that a Jivatma does. The Jivatma exhibits consciousness on account of its desires. But the Paramatma is self-satisfied, so he doesn't have to exhibit the same kind of activity. Rather, the Paramatma's business is simply to serve, in a sense you can say, the Jivatma. So it does so in the form of atoms. The Paramatma congeals together and creates so many forms which are meant for the enjoyment of the Jivatma. Yeah. He has no desire. His desires are all satisfied. Actions and movement in the material world are only on account of karma. That is what begins the material creation. The desires of the living entities. And then everything begins. Otherwise, without the desires of the living entities, there would be no material creation. The material creation only takes place in order to fulfill the desires of the jivas. Because the Paramatma is self-satisfied. He has no reason for the material creation. Alright, then let us greet the deities. Srimad Bhagavatam ki. That can all happen in only a short time from our perception. Although on the subtle plane it seems like a long time.
So it means, just like the example you quoted, that unlimited sex desire could be related to the body of consciousness of the being.
Yes.
So perhaps all states of consciousness is a particular quality.
Yes.
It's very difficult to say which quality results in which body.
Therefore there may be many births. Therefore, when a person has so many material desires, it's not that they all get fulfilled in his next birth. He may already be heading for a number of births. Another question?
Earlier you mentioned the reason why the body should be burnt so that the soul doesn't become ashes. Right. And we see from our Vaishnava Sampradaya, the bodies of the saintly people are entombed.
Yeah.
Presume that the entombment, because they're advanced, they are not attached.
That's right.
So from our point of view, why is the body entombed? I mean, we understand.
Because the body of the spiritual master is not material. According to the nectar of instruction, the body of the spiritual master has become completely spiritualized on account of its being used wholly and solely in the service of Krishna. Therefore the Vaishnavas are put into samadhi. Their bodies are preserved. These samadhi ceremonies that the body is put in the ground surrounded by salt. And their body is worshipable. The devotee's body is not material. Haridas Thakur, Lord Chaitanya took the dead body of Haridas Thakur and danced with it. Nobody touches a dead body. So why would the Supreme Lord want to touch Haridas Thakur's body? Because Haridas Thakur's body was completely spiritualized. There's a verse in the Nectar of Instruction that just as there may be some foam or mud in the Ganges River, but still the Ganges River is pure. And when you take bath in it, even if there's foam or mud or dirty things floating, you still get purified by the Ganges River. So similarly, although the body of a pure devotee may appear to have so many defects on account of birth, or defects on account of some, or what to speak of death, still that body is spiritual and transcendental because of its being wholly and solely used in Krishna's service. And touching that body, seeing that body, coming into association with that body is purifying. Therefore it's not ordinary to serve an advanced Vaishnava. Even by giving him physical service, it's not ordinary because you're not serving a material person.
We said that the person in the subtle body is attached to his gross body after death. So is it possible that that person tries to get into that body again, or?
Yes, that's what he's trying to do. That's why you have to burn the body, because he's trying to get in, but he cannot get in. The body cannot sustain or support life any longer. Therefore it's useless. It's just like a car that is destroyed, or a house that is burned. The man may again be so attached to the house, he may keep wanting to go in the house, or in the car which is destroyed. But the car is useless. It cannot drive anymore, it's wrecked. The house is burned, you cannot live in it. But because of not getting another house or car yet, and because you are so attached to this, you keep trying to go in there and stay around there.
At that point in time, don't the Yamadutas are pulling the subtle body out? Still independence prevails.
Yes. The subtle body is very powerful. And the Yamadutas may think, yes, let him. You know, the Yamadutas are real characters. So they may think, all right, we'll let him hover around here and suffer even more. We let him stay here a little while. You can see their attitude when you read in the Ajamil story. They're very, they're tough characters. So they might think, all right, he's already doing our work for us. He's suffering so much, you let him be frustrated by thinking he can go back in his body for some time. So, all right, we stop here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru.